What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Degenerate Podcast. Today we got a waiver wire show. We are officially 1 week into the NFL season, and honestly, there were a lot of bad performances on the offensive side of the ball. So maybe some of you guys drafted players that did not perform the way you wanted them to. So I'm going to give you guys 10 players that you can pick up to help your team. Before we get into the waiver wire players, I just want to let you guys know that usually I will be doing film review of all the games that happened the week before, but I am going out of town this weekend. I'm going to watch the Chargers play the Panthers in Carolina, so I don't have time to review all the games plus preview all these games going into week 2. I just don't have time for both, but starting next week I will be doing both. I promise you guys. I just wanted to let you guys know that, but let's hop into the waiver wire players. So like I said, I have 10 players for you guys. All of these players are super available. They are rostered in less than 30% of ESPN leagues. So I'm using the ESPN site, but any site you use, these guys should be super available. Like I said, rostered in less than 30% of leagues. Before we get into those 10 guys, we have to bring up Jordan Mason. He's the backup running back for the 49ers. He was probably picked up in a lot of leagues when the CMC news came out last night. But last time I checked, he was only 40% rostered. So 60% of leagues he's still available. And if you're in one of those leagues, you have to pick him up. For all we know, CMC could be injured for 3 more weeks, 4 more weeks. We have no idea. Even if CMC plays next week, there's always a chance of re-injury. And Jordan Mason looked great last night. So if he is available, he's the number 1 priority. Pick him up all day. So now let's get into these 10 super available guys. I'm going to start at number 10, which is my least favorite, and go up to number 1, which is my most favorite. At number 10, we have Jets wide receiver Allen Lazard. So if you guys have been watching football for years, you guys know who Allen Lazard is. He played with Rodgers in Green Bay for years. Now he's with Rodgers on the Jets. He's not a super good talent. He's an average NFL receiver, not super explosive. He's a big body contested catch guy. But last night, he looked like Rodgers' number 2 target behind Garrett Wilson. And that's worth something in fantasy. I think the Jets offense is better than what it showed last night. I think they're going to be better. I think Rodgers is going to be better. So having the potential number 2 target for Rodgers is definitely worth something. I don't love him because, like I said, he's not a great talent. But if you're in a deep league and need a wide receiver 3 or a flex, you could definitely do worse than an Aaron Rodgers receiver. We all know how Rodgers is. He throws a lot of touchdowns. So I don't mind Allen Lazard. That's number 10 for me. So at number 9, we have a quarterback. He's the only quarterback on the list. It's Justin Fields, Steelers starting quarterback. So he started over Russell Wilson last week, and it looks like he's going to be the starter this week. We all know what Justin Fields is. Not a great passer, but an elite rusher. He gives you a solid floor in fantasy because he gives you like at least 70 rushing yards a game. And honestly, I think he's going to throw more this week than he did last week. The Steelers had a lead. They only kicked field goals. It's not going to be like that every game. And he showed some good connection with George Pickens. So he's going to give you at least 12 points because that's what he got you last week. But I think he's going to throw more. And I know some of you guys, maybe you had Jordan Love who's hurt. Maybe you don't trust Joe Burrow. Maybe you waited on quarterback. Maybe you're in a super flex league. There's always some team that needs a quarterback. And I think Justin Fields is a solid floor. And we all know his upside. So number 9, Justin Fields. At number 8, we have running back Justice Hill for the Baltimore Ravens. So Hill has been on the Ravens for years and years and years. He always gets hype and never does anything. But this year, I think it's different. I really think he is the passing downs back for the Ravens. We saw it last week against the Chiefs. When the Ravens had to pass, Derrick Henry did not see the field. It was all Justice Hill. And Justice Hill gave you 6 catches for 52 yards. So I think he is a solid flex. And if you are desperate, you can throw him in your lineup at the running back spot. And he can give you a solid floor. I think he's going to give you like 3 catches a week. And then when the Ravens play a team where they have to pass, 6 catches. We saw it happen. The reason he's so low on my list is because I don't like him for week 2. I don't like him for this week. The Ravens are playing the Raiders. I think we all expect the Ravens to win that easily. I think it's going to be a lot of running, a lot of Derrick Henry, not a lot of Justice Hill. But season long, I like him as a flex and a running back you can throw in and give you a solid floor. Number 8, Justice Hill. Number 7, we got wide receiver Greg Dortch for the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like Greg Dortch has been a waiver wire pickup for like the last 2 or 3 years. But Greg Dortch is a small slot receiver. He's not going to go downfield. He's like a little short area target, safety valve type of receiver. But Kyler has peppered this guy with targets in years past, and it continued week 1 against the Bills. Kyler was looking for this guy on little dump-offs, little safety valve throws all game. Greg Dortch gave you 6 catches for 47 yards. And that's about what he's going to give you every week. Maybe you get lucky and he gets a touchdown. But a floor of 10 PPR points is definitely worth something in fantasy. If you're in a 3 wide receiver league or you need a flex in a deep league, 10 PPR points as a floor, that's solid. Like, you're not complaining about that. So, like I said, he's not going to boom ever. But if you're looking for a solid floor in your lineup every week, I think Greg Dortch can do that. Number 7, Greg Dortch. At number 6, we got Brandon Cooks, wide receiver for the Cowboys. So, Cooks has been on the Cowboys for a few years now, and he's given us big weeks, but just hasn't been consistent. But the reason I like him now, Jake Ferguson got hurt in week 1. If Ferguson doesn't play, Cooks becomes the number 2 target behind CeeDee Lamb in a Dak Prescott offense. That's super valuable for fantasy. Right now, like with Jake Ferguson healthy, Brandon Cooks is like a boom or bust flex. Someone that you put in your flex and hope he gives you a big week. But if Ferguson doesn't play, I think that gives him a higher floor, and he might become a wide receiver 3 that still has some boom potential. So I kind of like Brandon Cooks if Ferguson doesn't play. So number 6, Brandon Cooks. Number 5, we have running back Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers. So he's like the number 2 behind Rachaad White right now. He's also a rookie, so I can't really evaluate his talent off of one game. But last game looked pretty good. 9 carries for 62 yards. In the short term, if Irving is giving you 10 carries a game, that's worth something in fantasy. If you are desperate for an RB2 or desperate for a flex, 10 carries is worth something. He can always bust one for a touchdown. But in the long term, I think there's more upside for him. Rachaad White has never been a good in-between-the-tackles runner. He's always been a good pass catcher. And Bucky showed the ability to run in between the tackles. So in the long term, if he's getting you like maybe 15 carries a game, he gets more of a role running. 15 carries a game is an RB2 in fantasy. So in the short term, he's a good flex. In the long term, he can be a RB2. Number 5, Bucky Irving. Number 4, running back Alexander Madison for the Raiders. Madison has been in the league for years. He's an average NFL running back, nothing special. But we have seen him have successful fantasy games in the past. Multiple times we've seen it happen. Now he's the pass catching back on the Raiders. Last week he had 4 catches and a touchdown. So I don't think he has like upside like Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving can become more with a bigger role. Madison is what he is. He's a desperation RB2 or a flex with a solid floor. So if you are looking for something for now or the next couple weeks, if you're looking for someone to plug into your lineup with a safe floor, I think Alexander Madison can do that for you. Number 4, Alexander Madison. Number 3, wide receiver Demarcus Robinson for the Rams. So Robinson has been in the league for like 10 years, and until last year when he played for the Rams, he really didn't do anything. But at the end of the year last year, Robinson had 5 straight games with at least 13 PPR points. That's like a wide receiver 3 status. That's super valuable. And now, Puka Nacua for the Rams is hurt and on IR. So, with him being on IR, he's missing at least 4 weeks. That makes Demarcus Robinson most likely the number 2 target behind Kupp. And we all know Kupp is going to steal a lot of targets. He is a target hog. But I don't see why Robinson can't do what he did last year. 13 PPR points per game. That is a starter in your lineup. If you're looking for a receiver, grab Demarcus Robinson 100%. Number 2, we have my favorite running back, Tank Bigsby for the Jaguars. So, Bigsby was on the team last year, but he really didn't play. Week 1, though, 12 carries for 73 yards. Pretty good game. The most important part, though, Travis Etienne, who is supposed to be the number one, also 12 carries. So it was a 50-50 split. So you can get someone on the waiver wire who gets 12 carries. Let's say Bigsby keeps the same role, gets 12 carries a game. That's at least a flex. And if you are desperate, that is an RB2. But there is still the upside that Bigsby gets more work. Maybe he gets 15 carries a game. Maybe he becomes the lead running back. All we know now is that he is part of the game plan, and that is huge. If you are looking for a running back, get Tank Bigsby 100%. So we are finally at number one. You guys probably already know who it is. Tight end Isaiah Likely for the Ravens. So in years past, Likely has shown flashes multiple times, but he was always number two behind Mark Andrews. But in week one, he looked like the number one option. I will say, I think Mark Andrews is going to get more work going forward, but having the ability of getting Lamar's number one target, like if Likely is number one and you have the chance to get him, you can't pass that up. And I think Likely's worst case scenario is a flex. I think he is going to get enough volume every week to at least be a flex, but have the upside of being Lamar's number one target. For that reason, he is the number one priority on the waiver wire this week. So those are my 10 favorite guys. I do have some honorable mentions that didn't make the cut, but I still like these players and they are all widely available. So I will go quickly through these guys. Rookie running back Jalen Wright for the Dolphins. We all know Devon Achane is the number one, but Mostert did not look good in week one. Looked kind of cooked. So maybe Wright gets more work in the future. Next, wide receiver Tyler Johnson for the Rams. So Johnson has been in the league for years for multiple teams, but he did have a 70-yard play for the Rams in week one. So maybe he becomes Stafford's number two option. I could be wrong. I think it's Demarcus Robinson, but I could be wrong. And then last, tight end for the Rams as well, Colby Parkinson. So he is playing the Tyler Higbee role in that offense, and that's a valuable role for fantasy. Week one, he got you 4 catches for 47 yards, and for a tight end, 8 points, you'll take it all day. Lastly, I want to bring up some streaming defenses if you're looking to stream a defense. The Chargers, man. They're probably my number one defense of the week. I don't know why they're so low roster percentage. They're playing the Panthers. Like, look what the Saints just did to the Panthers. And the Chargers played good against the Raiders last week. So pick up the Chargers, man. Number 2, Colts defense. I don't think the Colts defense is very good, but they're playing Malik Willis. That's all I got to say. And then number 3, Eagles defense. I also don't think they are very good, but they're playing Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, and Kirk Cousins looked terrible week 1. So those are my honorable mentions. If you have any questions about waiver wires, as always, comment in the podcast, comment on YouTube, DM me on social media. And tomorrow I'm going to post my starts of the week. And then Thursday I will post the preview of all the games and preview of all my bets. Thanks for watching, guys. I love y'all.